Chapter 39. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There was a burning pain on his mouth. Chu Ning looked confused and reached out to touch his lips. Chu Ning looked up suddenly and was stunned. No. You didn't kiss me, you bit me, and I bled. Qinglian's voice was trembling, and she didn't dare to look directly at me, but she still had to bite the bullet. Isn't this what you want? I gave it to you, what else do you want? Chu Ning smiled and looked at Qinglian, who was extremely ashamed and angry. It's not like that, actually. You can be gentler, otherwise you will bite this mouth off in the future. You didn't bleed. A normal person would definitely bleed. What are you talking about? However, seeing that Qinglian was like this, it was probably impossible to make up for a perfect first experience. Qinglian's temper was too fierce, and the tougher the means, the more counterproductive it would be, but at least it was kissed, right? Chu Ning didn't know if it counted. At that moment, he felt his lips being bitten. No, even if you really don't know anything, you can't bite. Forget it, I still have to teach you myself, although he has never kissed her, but even if you haven't eaten pork, you have seen pigs run. Chu Ning narrowed his eyes and smiled. Qinglian, I'm going to be busy. Remember to be gentle next time. After saying that, he turned and left. Qinglian's face flushed, and she couldn't suppress it. She was too nervous and she couldn't control her strength. I've already said that if you want it, you can do it yourself. But you just pretended to be willing to do nothing and let her do it. You deserve it, it has nothing to do with me. Qinglian, who sat back in her original position, was still a little angry, picked up the broken brush and threw it at Chu Ning's forehead. What's wrong? I am happy. Go and see your memorial. Next time. There will be no next time, it's impossible. The sky was bright and the sun was shining. The entire palace of the Daqian Dynasty was decorated with lights and colors, and preparations were being made for the Empress's wedding. Although they didn't know why Chu Ning was chosen as the emperor, he was the emperor after all, and was appointed by His Majesty. Just take care of it. Xiao Bing was so busy that she didn't even have time to practice. She was fully responsible for the affairs of the palace, running back and forth between the cabinet and the Ministry of Rites all day, with excitement on her little face. After all, the dragon's son will be born in less than half a year, isn't it happy? And inside the royal ancestral temple, Feng Horan stood in front of the ancestral temple, thinking about Chu Ning's identity and current behavior. What identity does this person have to be so favored by Qinglian? Qinglian grew up under his watch. After practicing for 100 years, she has now reached the level of breaking the void. She is now the strongest person in the dynasty, second only to him. Having a high level of cultivation is one thing. Moreover, Qinglian was determined and devoted to the development of the internal affairs of the dynasty. In the early years, there were many persuasions in the court, hoping that the Empress would establish an emperor to inherit the royal bloodline, but they were all rejected. Why did Chu Ning suddenly become the emperor? Chu Ning was a mortal who had no cultivation. He was just a bit good-looking. That was nothing. Your Majesty liked him and put him in the harem to inherit the royal bloodline, but now Your Majesty has given Chu Ning too much power. He also went with Your Majesty to the Mingda Hall, the center of the Daqian Dynasty. It is unclear whether he handled government affairs, but such behavior is completely contrary to the clan law. I always feel that this kid is not simple, but he can only stay in the ancestral temple now, and there are not many things he can investigate. But if this person dares to do something unfavorable to Your Majesty, he must. Suddenly, Feng Horan raised his head, as if he noticed something. Above the palace, the weather seemed to be disturbed by someone. Someone is calculating the weather, isn't it someone in the palace? The old man hesitated for a moment and calculated with his fingers, but the strange feeling soon disappeared. Is it an illusion? I just felt it clearly. No, I have to investigate. Although he didn't think much of Chu Ning, the protagonist of the wedding was still Qinglian. Anything that affects Qinglian's wedding must be stopped. At this moment, in the Mingda Hall of the Imperial Palace, Chu Ning narrowed his eyes slightly. He just finished dealing with the last memorial and handed it to Qinglian. My wife is cold and ignores me again, but the behavior just now was indeed very bold. Chu Ning didn't do anything, nor did he disturb Qinglian. He just walked out of the hall and took a breath, looking at the square outside the Mingda hall. The concealment of the secret guards was indeed done well, excellent, but it can't escape Chu Ning's eyes. Of course, some sewer rats can't escape either. You like to calculate the weather, right? Then I'll calculate it for you. Chu Ning flicked his finger, making the already disturbed weather even more chaotic, and at the same time, added some ingredients. There are really quite a few people staring at his wife. I originally planned to get along with you as an ordinary person, but I was actually stared at by outsiders. No one can stop them from getting married, let alone do anything. At the same time, several monks of the great Zhou dynasty distributed outside the palace have been arranged. The leader is the current heavenly master of the imperial observatory. He once entered the Liang Holy Land, one of the 3 holy places, but was expelled from the Holy Land for some reason, and went to the great Zhou dynasty to become a worshipper. A cultivator in the middle stage of breaking the void, looking at the 5 great dynasties, is definitely one of the best. The man was dressed in a purple Taoist robe, showing his master's style. Seeing that the other disciples had arranged the formation, he immediately activated the formation. 9 stars shine in the sun, using the sunlight at noon to cover up the formation, spying on everyone in the palace and finding the source of the dragon energy. A mere Daqian Dynasty, a dynasty that has been practicing for generations, actually has such a strong dragon energy. When I find the source of this dragon energy, I will kill this person and graft it into my great Zhou dynasty. That he sneered and started to activate the formation. An innocent man is guilty of possessing a treasure. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame your dragon energy for being too strong. Everything in the entire palace appeared in the old man's mind in an instant. Every position, every person, and the Mingda Hall, the center of the palace, has the strongest dragon energy and is the most powerful. It's here, that he was overjoyed. He didn't expect it to be so easy. He immediately put his spiritual consciousness into it to find the source of dragon energy. However, of course, at the moment of investing his spiritual consciousness, he did not see the arrangement inside and the existence of people. Instead, a brand new world suddenly appeared in front of him. This world was boundless and huge, but he was like a mustard seed in an instant. Just when the old man was puzzled, he seemed to see something behind him. He turned around suddenly, and his face turned pale, and he couldn't stop shaking. In front of him, there was a boundless and huge figure, and there was no end in sight. No. He was ambushed. A palm suddenly slapped. At the same time, outside the palace, the spiritual consciousness of the Tianxiang monk who maintained the formation was torn apart, and he spit out a mouthful of blood and died instantly. And the purple-robed old man with the highest cultivation level wailed. His brain was blank in an instant, and he fell to the ground. Before the other monks beside him could come to their senses, the space was suddenly torn apart. Fang Horan narrowed his eyes and looked at the monk in front of him, with a trace of doubt on his face. How come you fell down before I made a move? But the old man was still very excited. The rat in the sewer actually showed its head. Then I will not be polite. That a curved knife suddenly appeared in his hand. The only Taoist priest of the Imperial Astronomical Observatory who had broken through the void level had his consciousness destroyed. The other cultivators could not escape the long knife in Fang Horan's hand. They could only wail and die one after another. After doing all this, the old man was extremely confused. There is actually a cultivator at the void level. How come he has no power to resist at all? This shouldn't be. It's really strange. I'll report to His Majesty first. Chapter 40. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Without government affairs, the two naturally left Mingda Hall. The wedding is 10 days away, it doesn't matter. For the two, it's just a superficial relationship. What makes Chu Ning more excited is the change in Qinglian's mentality. Chu Ning happily holds Qinglian's hand, looking at the latter's stiff and tense face, always wanting to laugh. Qinglian, the wedding will be soon. Is it necessary to be so tense? Can't you relax a little? After all, we are husband and wife, right? Qinglian sneered immediately after hearing this. We are just a couple in public. Your role is to take care of the child after the dragon is born. I will handle the government affairs myself. Also, let me go. I asked you to hold my hand, so you held it. Why are you so shameless now? You misunderstood. What do you misunderstand? Isn't this the truth? I have always been so shameless. Don't think too highly of me. Qinglian had a blank expression on her face and wanted to take it back, but Chu Ning held it tightly. The latter smiled. I am not worried that you will slip and fall. I feel relieved when I hold your hand. Don't you have anything to do? Have you practiced the cultivation method? Chu Ning brewed a trace of sword intent in his hand and hit the tree in front of him casually. The tree, as thick as a wrist, was directly cut open. Practice, I'm pretty fast, otherwise how can I have time to accompany you? Looking at the chopped tree in front of him, Qinglian was stunned for a moment, and said with a straight face, practice is endless, diligence is the way to prove the truth, what does a mere sword intention count for? In fact, I am a hermit, the kind of person who has a very high level of practice, so I don't need to practice at all. No matter how high you are, you must study all the Yi family's skills thoroughly to improve your practice, understand? I understand, then you can't let me practice every day, at least give me some motivation or something. Qinglian sneered in response. Practice is for yourself. If you need motivation for such things, then you are hopeless. Hearing this, Chu Ning smiled and helped Qinglian sit down, being extra careful. That's someone else, not me. Now my motivation for practice is you. How do you feel? Have you felt uncomfortable during this period? Qinglian was silent for a moment, looking at the man in front of her who cared about her so much, and didn't know what to say for a while. Previously, I thought that this guy cared about her just to gain power and usurp the throne, but now it seems that he really cares about her, but it's hard to say whether he cares about the baby in her belly or her. Maybe it's just because of the baby. After all, it wasn't Chu Ning who said that he didn't mean it at the beginning. He was just waiting for me to give birth to the baby and then focus on the baby. However, this kind of thing cannot be confirmed in a short time, and she can't give birth to the baby now. However, Chu Ning's care during this period is indeed meticulous. In the past, Qinglian had never experienced this kind of emotion. Now, whether Chu Ning is because of the child or because of her, at least he is very satisfied in his heart. Except for being a little sleepy, it's nothing. Do you vomit normally? Qinglian turned her face away and said lightly, I vomited at the beginning, but since you made meals, I haven't vomited. Chu Ning understood and reached out to rub Qinglian's bulging belly. The latter glared at her, obviously unfriendly. If I let you touch it, then touch it. Believe it or not, I'll chop off your dog's paw. Chu Ning laughed. The sooner the wedding, the better. Otherwise, it's really hard to explain. If it weren't for the loose dragon robe on you, I'm afraid it would be easy for people to see it. If it weren't for you, how could I end up like this? Qinglian said with dissatisfaction, but still acquiesced to Chu Ning's actions. In fact, some changes were hard for her to explain, that is, her chest has been getting more and more swollen recently, the previous bellyband was simply unwearable, and now she has to change to a bigger one every 3 or 2 days. She has also heard of this kind of thing. It's probably because she has to breastfeed the baby after it is born, but even if that's the case, it won't change so quickly. Could it be that she has been eating too well recently? But it's really hard to say, let alone to Chu Ning, otherwise, this guy might say something like open it and take a look. However, now, Chu Ning's concern for her made Qinglian a little moved, and she had gradually let down her guard against Chu Ning. After all, he really cared about her now, and a gentleman should judge by deeds rather than by heart. Just as she was thinking this, Chu Ning suddenly sat beside her, and the two of them leaned against each other's shoulders. Qinglian hesitated for a moment, and did not avoid open, just staring at Chu Ning expressionlessly. The latter smiled, and then spoke with some emotion. To be honest, I didn't expect that I would have a child so soon, and suddenly became a father. Sometimes when I think about it, it feels like a dream. Qinglian pinched Chu Ning without any hesitation. What do you think now? So it's not a dream, then you have to think about how to be a good father. In fact, I don't know some things very well. I can only say that I will try my best to help you solve these problems. Chu Ning is still smiling. It's normal for you to doubt me. After all, our relationship happened so suddenly, and becoming a father was also a bit sudden. But no matter what, I always shoulder this responsibility, so I do those things for you. You don't have to think about what you said today, and you don't have to worry about anything. I will do my best to do what I can, and I will help you solve the problems that can be solved. You and the child in your belly are actually the biggest reward for me. How should I put it? It's probably an expectation. Qinglian narrowed her eyes slightly. So what has supported you until now is the responsibility of being a father. These words seem careless, but they are actually murderous. If it's just a responsibility, there's no need to do this. Qinglian was puzzled and asked, why? Chu Ning held Qinglian's hand tightly and said seriously, of course I want to win the heart of His Majesty. I have done so much for His Majesty. He is also the father of the child. Even if His Majesty is hard-hearted, he will change. When His Majesty really changes his mind one day, then it will not only be a responsibility, but also a mutual affection. Qinglian was stunned, her face flushed, and then she snorted. A mere mortal, with such a big tone, as if he wants to help me solve all the troubles, and he doesn't even consider his own level. She couldn't stand Chu Ning saying such words the most. Every time she heard it, she was confused. She could only use such words to cover up her inner feelings, and Chu Ning, who could sense Qinglian's thoughts, didn't really look down on her, but was too arrogant. Feeling the warmth from the woman beside him and the fragrance lingering on his nose, Chu Ning slowly approached. Qinglian, I have something to discuss with you. The latter calmed down, and had that cold face again. What? She turned her head, and Chu Ning had already approached her. There was no way to avoid it. She was kissed just like that. Qinglian's mind went blank. The warm touch of the lips came, which was completely different from the bite of Chu Ning today, more gentle, and felt better. Her brain, which was almost down, gradually came back to her senses, her eyes widened, and her face flushed. Who asked you to kiss me? She pushed Chu Ning away, stared at the man in front of her, and her whole body was trembling. You dare to be frivolous to me, you are so brave, and you are not the emperor now. Chu Ning looked at Qinglian curiously. Didn't you say that you don't need to ask, just do it directly? How can I let go of such a good opportunity? She looked ashamed and angry, wishing she could find a hole to crawl into, and punched Chu Ning hard without saying a word. It won't work even if I tell you. No matter how nice you are to me, it won't work. If you dare to kiss me, I'll chop you up.